meeting to order. And then we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Following the Pledge of Allegiance, Nick Stepnitz, our assistant to the city manager, is going to come up and provide our words of inspiration. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this message is regarding some of the world events going on right now. Loving God, we pray for the people of Ukraine, for all those suffering or afraid, that you will be close to them and protect them. We pray for world leaders for compassion, strength, and wisdom to guide their choices. We pray for the world that in this moment of crisis, we may reach out in solidarity to our brothers and sisters in need. May we walk in your ways so that peace and justice become a reality for the people of Ukraine and for all the world. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, we're happy you're with us tonight. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson,
Here?
Mayor Milan,
Here.
Councilmember Sampson,
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda would be approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to move item 10B to, that's a financial report we just got. I'd like to move it to a workshop.
Okay. Does anyone support that?
Second.
Any comments? Or we?
I just think it looks so comprehensive. I think we need one day devoted to that.
Okay, so we have a representative for Yo and Yo here this evening. Is there any need for him to speak with us at all tonight, or would you prefer that he just return on another night to
Simply
do an
just take it off
entire
the agenda,
presentation?
and he can come and do his whole presentation the other night.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Roll call, please.
United Street.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
So we will be moving the report that we received from Yo and Yo to, we will schedule a workshop, which we could do that right now. Anyone would like to make a motion to schedule a workshop, pick a date? Anybody?
It's convenient for you guys.
Oh, he should have stayed. He's still in the building.
Oh. There's that, yeah.
Let's see.
We could always come up with a couple dates and
Yeah.
allow him to pick,
So we
so
can give it to the city manager and we'll work
sounds
it
good.
out.
I can do the 9th,
There it is.
the 10th for next week.
Welcome back.
Hey, we did need to talk to you.
I'm not going to really be able to answer without getting to my calendar. So if
Okay.
I could email you guys some potential dates,
Perfect.
would that work?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any dates that are better than you? Are there any days that are better for you? that we
Are
should
you
stick
guys
to?
looking for an evening, or what are we looking for?
We are looking for an
Preferably.
evening, preferably, yes.
It probably doesn't matter. It just depends if I have other presentations or what's going on. But
Okay.
I can get back with you first thing tomorrow.
Perfect.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're giving him a couple dates and having him confirm, or we're just going to wait for him to give us dates? Anybody?
Well, if you give us some dates for next week, I think we can do
Okay.
this quicker,
Yeah.
sooner rather than later.
All right, thank you. Sorry for the confusion, and thank you so much for coming in and giving us this nice presentation. Okay, thank you.
White's Distillery is open?
What's that? Oh, yeah. You can't push people into places. Okay, so next we're approving the agenda. We will come back to the report from, the financial report from Yo and Yo at a different date. We'll let everybody know. So the next thing.
You want a motion to approve the agenda as
Oh,
modified?
yes, thanks, sorry.
Okay. That's it. That's a motion.
Second.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, so we have now approved our agenda as amended. Next thing on the agenda will be public comment for items on the agenda. If you have anything you would like to share with items that we have on the agenda this evening, you're welcome to come to the podium. We'd like to give you 3 minutes, and if you would state your name, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
My name is Walter Bills, B-I-L-L-S. I live in Claussen. So I've been trying to wrap my head around and understand the role of the city attorney in our city. And I went online, and this is what it says on the website: the city attorney serves as a legal advisor and counsel for the city and for all officers and departments in all matters relating to their official duties, and performs other such duties that may be imposed by council, either by ordinance or resolution. So, since I guess it was last May when the former mayor resigned, I never understood why the city attorney did not advise the council on what needed to be done to perfect the fact that she couldn't come back. And it seems to me that was a job to do that. And if that would have happened, the fiasco that happened in November might not have never happened either. And, the other thing is I don't understand why what the former mayor did November 3rd was allowed to go on when a lot of the rules weren't followed. I mean, there was no discussion. The public had no chance to apply for the job or the position. It was just boom, boom, boom. I wonder why the city attorney didn't step in and stop it. It seems to me that would be something that should have been done. I mean, the rules weren't followed. So I know y'all are going to be talking about it, but I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in. Those things have really been bothering me. And I'd really like to know what the answers are. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
It's me again, Susan Moffett, 726 Strand, Claussen. Wanted to make comments about the 2 closed sessions that are going to happen today. The first, of course, being relative to the George's lawsuit. Everybody knows where I stand on that. I just want to remind everyone, online petition, over 650 people expressed their displeasure with the appointment of George's and his unwillingness to mend the city and make a decision in the city's best interest. It's now a lawsuit, and it's incumbent upon those who sit up there to serve the city, to do the things that need to happen for the city to mend and bring this issue to a close. And hopefully that lawsuit will be resolved in a manner that's consistent with the city's wishes, the 650 people who signed the petition and those who haven't signed it. So that lawsuit, again, any solution that includes Mr. Georges sitting on the dais as a result of that lawsuit is unacceptable to the community. And then I also wanted to briefly talk about some input for the performance evaluation of the city attorney. I know you have a hard job. You serve a lot of masters, but it's hard not to see some of the bad situations that the community's been in, that we look for legal guidance, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot given. As the gentleman mentioned, the former mayor resigning, the appointments that happened, the debacle of the November 3rd meeting. We look to you to be the legal guidance, and too often it feels like there's Switzerland going on and there's no tangible guidance given to the council, and that's where how the community sees it. And then also, there has been some disrespect of people speaking sometimes, which is unacceptable and unfortunate. And I just wanted to make sure that some of the feedback that I've gotten from the community and sitting in the cheap seats here, make sure that gets into the closed session today and that's spoken about. That's all I got.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, barring that, we will close our public discussion and move on to the next item, which would be consideration of approving the following consent agenda. Item A, minutes of the regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, February 15th, 2022, as presented. Item B, minutes of the special city council meeting held on Tuesday, February 7th, 2022, as presented. Item C, department reports for February 2022. And item D, list of bills as presented in the amount of $743,306.72.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes. So we have now approved our consent agenda as presented. And the next item on our agenda will be presentations and proclamations. First item will be presentation by Interim Department of Public Works Superintendent Trevor Zablocki on tree trimming. Trevor, thank you so much for coming and talking about tree trimming. As we know,
Sure.
it's an issue. Concern, excuse me.
Okay, so every year we have a tree trimming program. Consists of our crew trimming a certain section of the city, and then we also hire a contractor to do a section to get more trees trimmed. It takes about 6 years to get through the whole city by breaking it up that way. And then once that's up, you go back around and keep working on the trees, try to keep them healthy. This year, however, I decided to have our contractor do a section and have our crews work on our lists of tree trimming and tree removals that we have accumulated over the last couple years that are throughout the city, so we're not just doing one section, we're gonna go hit some problem trees. That list has gotten a little out of control, so instead of them trimming a section, I've chosen for them to work on that list and try to take care of some of those problems. I did add the park to the contractor's work because they were working in that section, and it has not been trimmed, a full trimming, in as long as I've worked here. So it was due, they needed some attention, so I just added that in there since they're already in that section. They chose to start with that first, ground was frozen, good time to be able to get equipment in there. When we're trimming, the goal usually is to bump up the canopy, trim out any dead or dying limbs, trim out any limbs that are growing too far straight up, too far straight down, and attempt to even out the tree to try to keep it healthy. Say, get dead limbs out so they don't fall, get limbs that are growing in a manner that they're going to eventually be dead or cause more issues for the tree. On top of trimming trees, we're also scheduled to plant about 98 trees this spring. It was supposed to be done in the fall, but we ran out of time, couldn't get them planted, so they're ordered. I spoke with the nursery last week. They have them. We're on their schedule. I believe it's about 30% are going into parks. The rest of the 70% is going in the right-of-ways. We determine that by first people who want trees. We try to get them trees. Then we move to people who had trees removed and check with them if they would like a tree replaced. And then to fill out the rest of the trees, I literally drive around the city and look for good spots for trees. Good use of my time. That's pretty much tree trimming in a nutshell.
Okay. So the people who are concerned about the park, because those are the concerns I heard. Tall, no branches right here, right? So the plan is you have other trees to go
Yes.
in there to kind of.
So of that 30%, probably 80% of that is going in that park.
Okay.
And then the rest, it's a couple trees in the other parks because they're smaller and or they have soccer fields. There's just not as much room.
So the people who are concerned right now that it looks like there are no and I know it's winter, so it's a different picture in winter than it will be 2 months from now. But right now, if people look through and all they see is a tip with branches, and they're concerned that you'll be able to see straight through the park because all the trees have been, not all, because many of the trees have been pruned back. You're saying you have an answer for them. The answer
There
is
is.
new trees.
We are putting new trees in the park.
Thank you. Wonderful. You're a tree lover.
You have yeah, that's by my notoriety, right? So, first of all, this is one of the hardest jobs that you're doing, and I commend you for it. The other thing is, you're given so many hats to wear. You know, being an arborist is not necessarily one that you're, looking forward to. All right, then that's fine. All right, and I know how difficult that is. So, I guess one thing that I'm concerned about, that when we hire somebody to contract out, are they following our ordinance? Because one of the things that we did this past year in updating our landscape ordinance for trees in the public is that we have trees are not cut above 13 feet in the road space and then no higher than 8 in the residential. So that at least for some of the trees that are low branched to begin with, that's just their nature, like a Norway maple. They're not looking like a tall lollipop, right? And so when I went through the park and saw that, in my opinion, they could have had an arborist there. They could have seen in several dead branches. It's difficult right now, unless you had already earmarked which of those trees, dead trees you can take out. I know there was one that was over by the pavilion that needed to be removed a long time ago. But they didn't need to go as high as they did, in my opinion, because they're not all those dead branches. With the open space where some of the trees were taken out, sure, that's where you can plant something else. And so that's been my concern as I've seen in the parts of the city where the contractor has come through and trimmed the trees to a height that is detrimental and potentially dangerous to the health of the trees that are existing, especially more mature trees. And you can see that, especially on our, I'm not a fan of silver maples, but that's what we're stuck with, right? That if they're not trimmed properly and the branch is cut too high and it's too large of a branch, it'll create an environment where water can come down, and eventually we'll have to take those trees out anyway. So I guess as long as we can review that the contract, whoever doing our services are following the ordinance, no higher than 13 feet. If it's 8 feet high, that's where that should be, and that you guys are doing the same thing. And if there's some discrepancy, I guess I would like to know where that is, because we went through the ordinance, like I said, last year. We went through it with a fine-tooth comb, making sure this is something that we wanted to make sure that we're promoting the health of our trees. And, that's obviously you get a lot of people that, I don't know how many there were, they're passionate about it, right? So, but something to use as a guideline. So as you go through the remainder, there may not necessarily be a need, eventually. Other than of those branches that were cut too high, what you'll see are small twigs that are branching out from the base of the tree that would need to be cut out. And that's more of a sign that some of the branches were taken out too aggressively. That's not you. This has been a legacy around here since the ash trees were taken out, right? It just happens. So it's something we need to think about, if you could. And then I'd like to see the list that you guys are getting, if we could.
The list, the problem trees?
No, not the problem trees. The list of trees that you guys are getting from the tree arbory.
Marine City.
Nursery.
You want the type of trees? Or what are you looking for exactly?
Because I want to make sure that it's in line with what we've said for, again, the new ordinance was that we did a study, I personally did a study of 1,000 trees and found out that, we've got more than 73% in the area that are maples. And so we tried, that's in the ordinance, to put a moratorium on maples.
Okay. So the trees that are getting planted were already determined because we're using grants. So the grant applications were already filled out. I just had to finish. I mean, they were pretty much done when I started working on this.
Okay.
So I do have the list of the types of trees.
Okay.
The quantity is not correct.
Sure.
It's just for the one grant, and then there's another grant. But I used the same types of trees for that one that were in this one. If you want to take a look at it.
If you can put that in the record, and then I'll take a look at it.
I also have copies of those grants if you guys want them. I do see a couple different types of maples on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have all that information.
Yeah, I mean, and part of it was that we're trying to, this is going through the planning commission, hate to bring that up, but, that was one of the things that we identified that we needed to try and make sure that we were increasing the diversity, right? Because with the status of our mature maple trees, there's going to be an ecological disaster if we don't replace them with something else and make sure that they're viable species that are enough that that eventually can promote the urban forests that we would like to have in our community, right? So.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that just a curiosity on Marine City, we've been using them exclusively for how many years?
I know at least the last 4. I can't look back that.
Okay.
I wasn't very involved 4 years ago.
Oh, sure, yeah, no, I understand. I guess, is it something that we can look at if there's somebody that, besides Marine City?
I think there were other bidders on that project.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't part of it. I do know they
They came in as far
honoring
as
a
pricing.
price that was not from like the year before.
Okay.
So we could get the application in.
Okay.
So they just honored the prices that we paid the year before instead of going with the new prices.
Okay.
That's all I know.
All right.
Yeah, that may have been a carryover from prior when it was bid, but if Trevor gets me that list, I can attach it for the Friday report.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that, what do they normally have in terms of variety, right? Is there somebody else that could probably potentially, service our needs for what our objective was to try and increase the biodiversity?
The variety that we have is what we actually chose.
Okay.
So that's not saying they can't give us other options.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, I mean, moving forward in the future, I will be able to have a little more input in it.
Okay. The other thing too was, do you know the height of these trees? Because my concern is that we've got some areas in the city with power lines that are devoid of any street trees, and I would like to really help those streets out with their spaces.
That is something I actually was on my mind when I was picking locations.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure what we were getting height-wise, so I stayed away from that. But that is something that I was thinking about, is picking some trees that can go in those spots.
Yeah, there's a couple that have power lines that go right over the right-of-way. Obviously, you don't want a mature tree. I mean, you can get away with it for a certain period of time,
Correct.
right? But at some point, it's like why I put it there in the first place, if you can find the right tree in the right space.
Yeah.
Right, so,
We have a similar issue with some of our streets have very small green belts.
yeah, oh yeah, no question about
It's
it,
just-
yeah. So if you've got a, 3.5 foot
It's-
setback, or right away, right, so, yeah.
It's just a bad idea for our sidewalk.
Yeah,
and
no,
road.
and I'm not encouraging them to
Right.
put anything there. There may be some other options that we can look at, get the Sustainability Committee involved in that. So, okay. All right, yeah, if I could get that list, and then maybe I can help out with something on that. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, does anyone else have anything for Mr. Zablocki? Okay, Trevor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your taking on all these extra things that you didn't plan on. Just think of how well-rounded you're becoming. The next thing on the agenda will be a public hearing regarding the clear zoning ordinance. We're going, let's see. I will call the public hearing open, so if anyone wants to speak regarding the clear zoning, they may. Seeing nobody that's interested, we will close the public hearing for the clear zoning ordinance and go under new business, which is consideration of the second reading and adoption of the clear zoning ordinance as recommended by the Planning Commission. Someone like to make that motion?
I'm here, so moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
And I see Joe Tangari's here from Giffords Webster. Joe, you're here. You have a laptop. I know you have something for us.
Yes, I thought I'd be prepared just in case, anything came up. And but for those who are watching, I'm definitely happy to give a little summary of what the council just adopted, and I'll even put it up on the screen. There it is. Well, there's the cover page of it anyway. So what we've done is we have taken the existing zoning ordinance, which currently is housed on a platform called MuniCode. And a zoning ordinance is not like a lot of other codes. It's very visual. There's a lot of spatial information in it. And it takes a lot of illustration to make the concepts that are in a zoning ordinance clear for people who don't work with zoning ordinances every day. So what this clear zoning format does, among other things, is it makes the ordinance standards more visual, particularly as it relates to the district standards, the setbacks and things for your house and all that. It also reorganizes the content of the ordinance to make things a little easier to find. It's in a format, it's a PDF, so anybody can use a PDF with free software. And internally, it's all linked, so you can click on anything in the table of contents and it'll take you right to that section. If you want to go to a particular article in the ordinance, you can just click on the side. If you want to go to the zoning map, you can click on an icon down at the bottom of any page. There's the zoning map. Once this is effective, which will probably be in about 2 weeks, based on the publication schedule and when things become effective after publication. This interactive zoning map will be live, so you'll be able to click on this little link to the interactive zoning map, and it'll take you to a map of the city that you can click on parcels and see what the zoning is and some other details about that particular parcel. And then you can go back to the ordinance, right to the district that you were trying to look up. So all these terms over here, we have these lists of uses in a given district. If it's blue, that means it links somewhere. So if you want the standards for state licensed residential facilities with 7 or more residents, you just click on it and it takes you right to those standards. The idea is ease of use. That accomplishes a few things. One is that it lowers the barriers to understanding what's in an ordinance to the average person, which can be pretty high when it's all text. And it reduces the number of questions that your staff winds up fielding about the ordinance, because if the content is easier to understand and interface with, there are fewer things for people to ask. Where is this? I can't find it. Well, if it's very easy to find, you're not going to get that kind of mundane question that comes in all the time. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. It'll be hosted on the city website, and like I said, that interactive zoning map will be active when it becomes effective, and we'll just work with city staff to get things on the website and make sure everything's ready to go on the effective date. So thank you very much.
Great. Any questions?
Computer in the lobby as well, outside the building department.
Right, yep.
So if someone doesn't have access at home, if they come in City Hall without meeting with any personnel, they can pull it up and work their way through it before meeting at the window.
We could put a printed version out there too for people who prefer that as well, because it prints in the same exact layout as it is in the file.
And our goal is not to eliminate personal contact or responsibility for residents to staff. It's just to make it easy and accessible to you at all times on your schedule and whatever, so.
Exactly.
That's great. And just for the record, you were here last time. This is our second reading, so we've
That's
already
right.
been through this once. And this is just, that's why we voted ahead of time. We knew what we were doing on this, but we wanted to give you an opportunity to speak again because you've been involved in this for quite a while.
Sure.
And we're happy to have it up and running. So we'll be happy when it's up and running, I should say.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Joe.
Have a good one.
night. So we moved, if anyone's watching the agenda, we moved the consideration of filing the fiscal year report, the annual financial audit, to a later date because we're going to schedule a workshop and handle that at a later time.
We still got to approve and adopt it.
Oh, I thought we did that ahead of time. So, all right, let us approve and adopt what I said we already approved and adopted. Let's backtrack a little bit.
Madam Mayor, I move the clear zoning ordinance be approved and adopted as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Support.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yeah. Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we agreed to adopt the clear zoning ordinance as approved and as recommended by the Planning Commission. So the next thing on the agenda would be discussion of approving the agreement between Joseph Raker and the city of Claussen to become our next city manager.
Madam Mayor, I can provide a little bit of an overview if you'd prefer. Obviously pursuant to our the council's last meeting, I contacted Mr. Raker, who is present this evening, and I thank him for being present. He and I have had ongoing conversation resulting in a marathon, I think, 5-hour meeting in person, which the end result of which is this particular agreement. Obviously, I took copious notes of council's deliberations at the last meeting. I didn't need to. It turns out, obviously, Joe was also paying close attention. He received and reviewed everything that you had to say over the course of the evening. This agreement that is presented to you tonight is basically that, a counter offer from Mr. Raker to council, and hopefully it's the last version, so to speak. This is after our, considerable back and forth. So council obviously has, several options in its hand. You may approve this agreement as is. You may approve with, subject to an amendment that you may choose. If you have questions, and obviously that's why we thought it prudent to have Mr. Raker present. He's here to answer any questions you may have. Obviously, the ball is, in your court, so to speak.
Okay, so Councilmember Sampson, do you have any, how would you gentlemen prefer to address this?
We got to just see if we like it first. I'm okay with the way it's written right now.
Okay.
I have no problems with it. He seems he gave up on a lot of things that he wanted. I mean, looks like it was a good mixture of everybody supporting everybody and giving up and taking, and so I'm good with the contract right now.
Okay, Councilmember Anderson, do you have any comments?
I did have one. When we did discuss the military leave, I think the original was 21 days. And I think he's modified it to 16 at this point. Councilmember Sampson had raised the point that instead of paying him for leave days, could we simply cap off the difference? So whatever the Navy pays him, which is short his counsel, working for the city, couldn't we just make that difference? Kind of like a jury duty situation to where whatever. So I'm just curious why that kind of maybe fell off the table.
Maybe, Joe, I think this is your cue in, sir. Please. I think you'd be better suited. I can answer the question, but you'd be better suited to answer. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you
Good
for
evening.
having me.
Thank you for coming.
So specifically to your point there, so those days changing it to 16 was to comport with the city's 4-day work week. So in essence, it's 4 weeks. Does that answer that?
Yeah, partly, yes.
Okay.
The other part is when you're on duty, you're being paid by the federal government.
Correct. And so you're talking about that delta.
Right. Well, I think we're more than happy to close the delta. Here, it seems like it's full pay for a day in addition to what the government federal's paying you.
I appreciate the offer, but my military pay far exceeds my city management pay.
Oh, so the delta's negative.
what
Correct.
you're saying.
And I'm not interested in writing a check.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that clarifies that.
Next candidate, please. Kidding.
Sounds like a good idea.
Right?
Got to try, right? If you want, I can, so I basically took a lot of the notes off of Mr. Anderson. He kind of was leading the consensus amongst all you at the last meeting. And if you want, I can go through the contract and just address where, hey, I've made concessions, or I, kind of stood firm on something, if you would like.
And Joe, I think you're winning, so
I
perhaps
got
that's-
my question answered.
Thank you.
Okay?
Councilmember Shepherd.
I counted 11 changes, so I appreciate where I think you, and then nowhere did I see it go up, all right?
No, sir.
So, yeah, I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I like what I see.
So you'll let me be the bad guy? Thank you. Or the bad girl. And it's nothing to you. I find 20 days vacation excessive in that there are all of those other compensated time. There are many forms of compensated time off, and 5 weeks, that's the equivalent of 5 weeks vacation. And if I understand it correctly, that's where tenured employees cap out at 5 weeks of vacation, right? Yeah, so I kind of have, I feel like it's not fair to a staff employee who starts at a week or 2 weeks, and then I know you have different level of responsibility, but you also have different perks than a traditional staff person would. I would ask that you maybe go for a 3-week vacation period instead of 5 to start, and then maybe if you'd like to add a week, year 2 or 3, I don't really have I do have a problem with that. Maybe add another week at year. Then it has to increase at some point. If we figure out a way to increase it, but I feel like 3 weeks is, in the world of employment, is pretty standard for starting vacation, for a good starting vacation plan, a decent starting vacation plan. So I would like that to be considered. And then I left my note one on my desk, of course. So I have a clean copy, which doesn't help me out, making sure I hit all the things I was concerned about. Somewhere in here it refers to you as a her, and I'm assuming typo, or she, it was a her or a she, so I'm assuming that was just a typo in the process here, in only one spot. If it's in different spots, I'm gonna ask other questions, but, we're back to the military thing, military and reserve time. You took out the part where we pay you if you don't use those 16 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure that I remember that now, but I wanted to tell you thank you for that because we appreciate that. Salary, we want you, right? And we want you to have a great package, but we have to be fiduciaries of all things here. And I bring people on board at where I work, and I always get annoyed when someone strong arms us a little bit more and they get a way better package than someone else has who, there just has to be some equity along the line somewhere. So if you would consider changing your vacation, and I'm only one vote, but if you would consider that, I'd be really happy and willing to go. Let's welcome him on and get him on here as quickly as possible.
Okay, so Mayor, I thought maybe that would be an issue for you. So after I had presented this clean copy with working with Rennis, it kind of resonated with me a little bit, and I diplomatically disagree with you. However, I will meet you in the middle, and I'm willing to do 3, 4, and 5 respectively.
I'll take that. And then that would cap at 5.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not increasing beyond 5.
No, ma'am.
Right, okay. I would be agreeable to that.
Want a motion?
Pardon me?
Want a motion?
Yes, please.
Madam Mayor, I motion we offer Mr. Raker, what would I have to say? The corrected copy?
Subject to the changes made on the record,
The changes made.
we authorize this, the signing of this agreement to Mr. Raker.
Okay. Did you get that? That's exactly what I said.
It's going to be another look back at the tape.
Call Rennis.
I will.
Is there a second on that?
Support.
Roll call,
Vote.
please.
All right, Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome to Claussen.
When
Thank you
can
very
we
much.
welcome you aboard?
Pardon me?
You're
When
starting
can
tomorrow
we
morning, aren't you?
welcome you aboard?
Well, I mean, I'm technically under contract, so I tend to stay for the rest of the meeting if you allow me to.
Oh, I mean, you're welcome to stay, of course you are. Why wouldn't you want to? I mean, Jen's going to watch it twice, so of course you'd want to stay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Oh, wait, ladies and gentlemen, our new city manager, Mr. Joseph Raker. Okay. Wow, you guys, we accomplished something good. I think that deserves another one of these. Or only me. Okay, thanks for the support, people. Okay, next thing on the agenda would be old unfinished business.
Nope.
Does anyone have any old unfinished business? We do not, so we'll move on to public comments for items not on the agenda.
Darlene McDaniel, and I'm sure you won't have an answer, but I think it was when Penny Lubes was mayor, when they made Elmwood, coming from Myers, no longer you had to turn north or south. They made it so you could go straight across. And I understand at that time when I was talking with her, the reason they did that is because you got state funding. Is that correct? Does anyone know? And I thought at the time, she told me, I'm not positive, but I thought at the time, she told me that state funding was to fix the road, which of course is still not fixed. And I don't know how do I find out the answer to that? I would just like to know where
Do you
that
remember
money
when
went.
I think I recall when that happened. That was about maybe 6 years ago?
Right.
Yeah, because I used to work over on the other side.
And
I
now
couldn't
my
go that
street's
way.
like a racetrack in the summertime.
We
And I'm
can-
sure you can agree.
We can ask this can be one of the first assignments to our newly appointed city manager. And he will be
That would
so
be-
happy
oh, I would
to figure
love
out that
it, Joe.
information for us and report back.
That would be great. I
Okay,
appreciate
great.
it.
Thank
And-
you.
And I think the man with the trees gone, but don't plant any more sycamore trees because they're a disaster. All they do is shed bark and twigs, and my yard is constantly a mess because of them. So please don't plant them in the city anymore.
What tree
Thank
do you have in front of your house?
I don't have a tree.
Okay.
The city has tried 3 times to plant a tree between the sidewalk and the street. They have died all 3 times. So now I have a flower bed there. I said, please don't plant another one because I don't know what it was, but they kept dying and dying and they dig them out, plant another one. After the 3rd one, I said, no more, please. So the tree is not in my yard, it's in my neighbor's, but because she doesn't clean up her yard, all the stuff blows
Oh, it's a
into
sycamore
my-
that's over next door?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I wish they all would die. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. The next thing on the agenda would be a city attorney's report.
Nothing this evening, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. How about next thing would be the city manager's report?
Should I defer?
I think,
What do you gotta
I think
say?
we'll do part A and part B, and that would be very fair, right?
Just real quick, 165 Hendrickson, I talked to the attorney today, the demolition crew is starting, we should be shutting off services, and by the end of the month, that house should be down, property should be leveled, according to contract. So I sent all the residents a letter a week or 2 ago advising them that things are in the mix, just giving them a heads up to look for it once the ground starts to thaw, and we can get equipment in there to take that house down. And tomorrow morning at 8:30, we have department head CIP with planning commission to go over the draft and starting to prioritize the capital improvements. So just wanted to keep everyone on board on that, and I'll wrap it up.
Scott, I would like to thank you for filling in as our assistant city manager, or as our acting city manager numerous times over the past couple of years. You are a great leader, and we really appreciate your willingness to serve. We know you love your day job, and this is just an added, but I know that reading the reviews we received when we were looking at city managers, when there were comments from city employees, I think there were 4 that stated, let Scott have the job. Just make Scott our city manager. And that's not because they wanted to torture you. It was because they trust you and they appreciate you. And I think on behalf of all of us, we'd like to say thank you for making the sacrifices that you have over this time and taking on this task. And I know that you'll be an excellent resource for Mr. Raker as he takes over. So on behalf of me, and I'm sure everybody, just thank you so much.
Appreciate that.
I think you did a great job. You had 3 hats and you looked great in them.
It's been interesting, I will tell you that. And I look forward to working with Mr. Raker and passing on some information, but actually, bringing him in, meeting the team, and being a part of the squad. So I look forward to that. But it has been interesting, let me tell you.
It's interesting, similar to saying "bless your heart" from the South? Is that kind of the same thing? Or?
No comment.
Thank you. For clarification.
I was spiking a football in the backyard. Yes.
Okay, any city council comments? Councilmember Anderson?
No, I just completely agree. I think Scott's done an excellent job filling in. Thank you.
Well, thank you to everyone for the comments, but obviously it takes a team, right? It's not just me, it's everyone that works, all the department heads and all the employees of the city. So I give credit from me all the way down to every employee that works for the city of Claussen to do what we do every day.
Very good.
And they're proud to be here.
That's what makes a good leader, that right there. That is what makes a good leader.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Councilmember Sampson, anything?
I already said mine.
All right, Councilmember Shepherd?
Thank you, Scott. So it's been a pleasure. So I really appreciate the time that you've spent and the time that I've gotten to know you. I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you for the words.
You'll still be here.
Yeah, he's not going very far. Just going across the hall and back.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
No. But I appreciate what you did. So thank you. But I also want to echo the sentiment that Nick started off our evening with regarding the situation in Ukraine. I think that's something we should all keep in our hearts of what's going on. So thank you, Nick, for that. Appreciate it.
Okay.
That's all.
I just have a few announcements. The library. So while I was being extremely productive at work today and looking for something to listen to in the background, for some reason, my iPad popped up the library, and joy of joys, I got to listen in on story time, which was so fun. There was a book called Gaston and Antoinette. Now, who wouldn't want to listen to a story with a creature named Gaston and Antoinette, right? But don't stop there. The other characters were Fifi, Fufu, and Ooh La La. So I just want to say that the library is so cute, and they sang a song, Bubble Bubble Pop, with little fish. You have to watch the tape and maybe learn the song. I can't repeat it for you, nor would you want me to. But the library is one of the gems of our community. Up and coming, they have The British Invasion and American Answer, a musical journey. This is a virtual program. Take a fun and nostalgic journey through the most iconic and greatest era of rock and roll history with author and pop culture historian Marty Gitlin. Wednesday, March 9th, 6:30 to 7:30. Please contact the library for registration information. There's online story time Tuesday mornings at 10:30 on their Facebook page for live story times with Kristen. Again, awesome, Kristen. Next is the Friends of the Library will be meeting at the library on Monday, March 7th at 6:30 p.m. and all are welcome. And then from our Parks and Rec department, because March is Red Cross Month, they are currently working to set up a date to hold a blood drive at City Hall. It'll probably be later in the month, but just look for information if you're someone who wants to support something like that, one of those great worthy efforts. Another item will be on St. Patrick's Day. They traditionally provide this spectacular St. Patrick's Day lunch, and they're asking people to place their orders as early as possible. When you place your order, you can get a $6 corned beef and cabbage carryout meal, which will also come with carrots, potatoes, and a dessert. And I don't know where you can get a meal for $6 that sounds like that, but you might want to order that early. You don't have to be a Claussen resident to obtain one of these meals, and you can call the office at 248-583-6700 to place an order. And then also, the Senior Center is scheduling tax appointments on Fridays for seniors. The last day of appointments will be April 15th. And that's all I have for that. And then next, we're going to go, consideration of going into closed session. Were we going in this order, or last week we talked about changing the order? Is this what we want to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Consideration of going into closed session to discuss the litigation for the case of George Paul Georges versus Claussen City Council in the City of Claussen in accordance with the OMA MCL 15.268, Section E of the Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act MCL 15.243, Section 13, 1G.
The first part of that, did you say I move to go into it? I'll
I
second
said
that.
consideration of going into closed session.
Read the bottom, we'll say I move, and I'll second it.
You just say so.
You want
So
me
moved.
to make the motion to move? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
I
Since you
have
read
no
it all.
problem with that. No, I read the part I'm supposed to read.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please. I don't think a motion was made, but all right, whatever. Was it?
No, I can do both.
Did we want to make what you said the motion? Is that what we're doing?
He indicated so
No,
moved.
I'll just say, I move that I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss the litigation for the case of George Paul Georges versus Claussen City Council, et cetera, as we just stated.
Got it.
So there are no
I'll support that.
ifs, ands, or buts about this process.
Got it, okay. Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes. So we're going to go into closed session to discuss what we just discussed, and then we'll be coming back to.
Madam Mayor, you can make the second motion as well. And simply
Okay.
go, yeah.
All right, then I
We don't
will.
have to come back here?
No, I mean, you can make the second motion, and then when you come back, you can, vote, in open session based on both will transpire. So you can make.
Actually have to go in, come back,
No,
go in, come
no,
back.
you don't. You don't.
That's-
When we come back, is that,
I'm sorry?
do we second that when we come back?
No, it's the same process. So you make the motion as you would ordinarily, as you just did with the prior closed session, and then simply go in and, basically stay there. Whenever you're done, then we'll come in for the second
All right.
portion.
Madam Mayor, I move to go into closed session for the performance of evaluation of the city attorney in accordance with Michigan complied laws, MCL 15.268, Section 8A of the Open Meetings Act.
Second.
Councilmember Shepherd?
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson?
Yes.
Mayor Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go into closed session for both of those events. We're going to come back here to close the meeting. If you'd like to stay here for any reason, call and order a nacho to go or a pizza and whatever, make sure you get enough for all of us, and we will see you when we're finished. Thank you.
Yeah.
And have a good evening for those we won't see again.
When you come out, call me.
Okay, I'm not on, now I'm on. Okay, we are back, it's 11:10-ish. We have now successfully met with Attorney Kevin McGinnis regarding George's versus City of Claussen, Claussen City Council, and I believe we have a motion in that regards. Who would like to make it? The one with the verbiage. Did everyone forget?
I think it's just, if I recall, it's just simply let him proceed as he is. Should we?
Okay. Do we proceed in managing the case
Yeah.
as previously determined in his judgment, apparently?
Yes.
Since he's the professional. Okay, and anyone second? I'll second.
I'll second.
You just made the motion.
Oh, I thought you were making, you said it so much better than I did. I thought you took the motion over.
At this point, I don't know what's being said or who's
All
saying
right.
it. Just
I made the
let's leave
motion,
it.
he shall proceed as he sees fit in the George's lawsuit.
And I will second that. Roll call, please.
Okay, Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
So we will proceed with that. And as our meeting with our attorney, Mr. Newshai, resulted in no action, just a conversation, evaluation, we will then entertain a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Sampson.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you for hanging in there.